My name is Mike Foster, the Entrepreneur's Mentor, and welcome to my latest video, a snippet with a leading expert. And I regularly share my thoughts on my YouTube channel about ways that I can help you to start, develop and grow your business. But this video series is about introducing you to experts to maybe share their thoughts or share their tips with you. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Joe Spencer of Spencer Insurance Brokers. Joe is a chartered insurance broker, a commercial insurance specialist for manufacturing and engineering businesses in the Oxfordshire and the Berkshire areas. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for inviting me.
Great, I'm glad you can join us and look forward to hearing some of the things. As you know, I've got probably about a handful of questions that I'm going to ask you today. The first thing I'm going to really ask you to start with is just ask you to introduce yourself and a bit about your business.
Okay, yeah, so my name's Joe Spencer. As Mike said, I'm a chartered insurance broker. I help SMEs to identify and manage the risks they face and then find a solution, an insurance solution to mitigate those risks. The business was started by my parents in 1983. I joined about 10 years after that, and then they retired in 2015. So this is my 5th year of flying solo. As you said, I specialize in commercial insurance. I work with a variety of clients, so consultants, charities, commercial property owners, but my focus is manufacturing and engineering.
Thank you, thanks for that. And I know from some of the things we talked about off air, you know, that is a specialist area, and I'm going to come back to that a little bit later when we talk about a blog that you shared recently. But obviously my sort of common question right now is we're in difficult times, unprecedented times with the virus pandemic. How are you and your customers finding that business climate right now?
So it's a real mix. So I have some clients who have stopped completely because of the sectors or industries they're in. Others have limited production. They've got employees working from home. And then at the other end of the scale, I've got clients who are at full capacity. So for example, I've got a food manufacturer who are literally working 24/7 to try to meet demand. And another client is a charity. They're taking a big part in a community hub to provide daily hot meals to the elderly. So they've really scaled up their operations. So as I said, it's a real mix. And I guess for me, the first 2 weeks of lockdown were a bit crazy. I contacted clients to see what they were doing, if they were still working, were employees working from home or furloughed. I just really wanted to gauge if anything was going to change their covers. Insurers then started to issue guidelines and advice and their responses to the situation. So for example, you've probably seen with home insurance, you don't need to tell your insurer that you're working from home. Insurers then, in some business policies, were extending the cover for IT equipment so that it was covered at employees' homes. For me, I think the major response that related to my clients was about empty premises. So normally, if a property is empty for more than 30 days, insurers will restrict the perils, increase the premium, and impose really stringent risk management requirements. Obviously, with lockdown, we're going to be going beyond those 30 days. So insurers responded by introducing a new definition called it's a temporary closure, which basically means that they'll provide full cover for most say for 90 days. So you know, a good response from insurers. They do have a list of risk management requirements, obviously. So removing waste from the building, making sure it's away from the building, turning off services if they're not needed, and is that making sure the property is secure. But insurers being insurers, obviously these vary. And then some insurers say you must comply, and some ask that you comply. I'm very much have a very sort of belt and braces approach. So I sent out a generic email to clients telling them this, but then I also contacted them individually to tell them what their specific insurer wanted. If they couldn't comply, there was then a discussion with the insurer. That way there are no issues, there can't be any issues. It's just a better way, I think, of approaching matters.
That's for me certainly one of the reasons why I would use a specialist like yourself is that must and ask. You know, some of the language used. You know, I think we assume that we're covered in
exactly
as a business owner, but
exactly
good reason to use a specialist like you.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that clients and insurers know where each other stands. Again, you can't just assume.
So how has this situation changed the way that you work then at the moment?
I do have an office. It's the office that we've always used. It's a building at my parents'. But I often work from home. So in some ways, the situation hasn't really impacted my day-to-day activities. I'm allowed to go to my office to open post. I have certain regulatory requirements to comply with under the FCA, but I tend to tie that in with delivering my parents' weekly shopping. So I get to check that they're okay as well. I guess that the hardest thing is that I can't visit clients, and that's a major part of my work. That's the way that I get to really dig deep and find out what makes a business unique. No two businesses are the same. They may do or have something that gives them unique insurance needs. So, for example, you could have two manufacturers who make the same product. One relies on one supplier for a component, the other relies on several. They have different insurance requirements. But I guess saying that, I've been dealing with many of my clients for many years, so visiting them at the moment isn't crucial. I know and understand how they operate, so as long as we're still in contact and I keep up to date, sort of email, phone or video chat works. It's not the way I like to do things, but it's okay. And I guess in terms of claims, a major claim would be, I think, quite a challenge. Minor claims you can still deal with by phone or email, but something like a fire, I think, will prove a real challenge to deal with. Although that is something I'm looking into at the moment on how that can be dealt with. So yeah.
I know it's a big part of your offering is you do like to visit the premises. You like to explore the risks that the business may be facing, so that they are making sure they have the right cover, rather than probably just advising you what cover they think they should have. Yeah. And one of the things I really liked recently that you did was a blog which, going into the circumstances, you shared a load of thoughts which I think a lot of business owners perhaps wouldn't have thought about. You sort of you talked about obviously things like empty premises and things like that, but a huge number of factors that you covered in the blog, which was fantastic. So I guess my question is a little bit linked, but what advice would you give to a business about their insurances right now?
I think first and foremost, you should check the advice and guidance that's being given by your insurer. So have they expanded or extended their policies to cover any changes that you've made to your operations, like the empty building? So are you complying with the risk management requirements? There's lots of things. You've also got statutory inspections, so you may have machinery that needs to be inspected during lockdown. So again, you would need to talk to your insurer. Have you changed your products or services? So you may be a restaurant, for example. You can't have people in the restaurant now, but you could be doing takeaways. So those are the kind of things that you need to talk about with your insurer, and make sure that any policy changes are made. Like you said, there's a blog, a couple of blogs on my website to help with this.
Super. And is there any sort of generic advice that you'd give to people when they're thinking about their insurances?
Yeah, I mean, now is probably the last thing that insurance is always the last thing that people think about. And have I got my cover right? But just a few basics. I would say sums insured. So have you got your sums insured on the correct basis? So are you doing it as a replacement as new, rather than just the depreciated value from your accounts? Do you know what gross profit means? Insurers and accountants have different definitions for gross profit, just to make life complicated. Have you set a realistic recovery period? You could be dependent on a piece of machinery that's going to take 9 months to commission and have it installed. That will impact on the length of time it takes your business to recover if you had something like a fire. Also, warranties and conditions. Do you know what they are? Are you complying with them? And more people are working from home at the moment, so networks are very vulnerable. It's very easy for hackers to attack. Probably policies are less stringent at the moment, so cyber risk has really increased. So I would say think about your cybersecurity and also cyber insurance. There's a few infographics. There's a top tips video on my website. If you need some help, and if you get stuck, just get in contact with me. I can review policies remotely. My advice is free, and I'm happy to help if I can.
Fantastic. And again, it's another area where I'd recommend people to speak to a specialist like yourself, which is around that warranties and conditions. I think a lot of businesses that they put in for their insurance, they get a price, they accept the price, and actually don't look at the small print, and they get tripped up, I guess, when they're trying to make a claim. So having that sort of expert eye over their policy is great. What about you personally then? How are you personally coping with lockdown then?
How am I coping with lockdown? Exercise. So I run twice a week, and on the days that I don't run, I walk or go for a bike ride with my family. If I'm feeling really energetic, I might do a Joe Wicks workout. I've also embraced the world of Zoom. So I've done Toastmasters on Zoom. I've set up a weekly sing-along with some friends from the Tuneless Choir. It's very entertaining. I also have a weekly chat over a glass of wine with my uni friends. And we Facebook Messenger my mum and dad every couple of days. But most of the time we just end up talking to my mum's forehead. Yeah, she hasn't quite sussed out the camera, so we either get this or we get that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Yeah, I know exercise and family is a big thing for you, so it's great to see that you're blending all those in. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think being able to see friends and family, even if it's just virtually, is really, really important. I think feeling that you're still connected is vital at the moment.
Agreed. So a couple of times we referenced your website for the blogs and some videos. So you better tell us what that website is.
www.spencerinsurance.co.uk.
Fantastic. And I would certainly recommend take a look at Jo's website, see the information that she's sharing there. And certainly if you are in lockdown and you're not perhaps at your premises, there's some real good stuff on those 2 blogs that I referenced earlier. So thank you, Jo. Thanks for spending some time with me today to answer a few questions and sharing your thoughts with us. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks again, Jo. So please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and get notified each time I publish a new interview. And I'll see you next time for a Zoom with whoever's next.